So there's more than a little of you in that sculpture.
Definitely.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
now
yeah.
that you mention it,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
there's, yeah. And even, the serenity that you mentioned, this is something that maybe I was so much in a quest for it, my life being so hectic and big still part chaotic, commuting between two continents and uh, and and all of that, it's definitely a lot of stress, and here the deadline, was pretty tight too, and here comes the serenity, that's sort of, yeah, it's a great thing, usually we depict it so well, things that we don't usually have, so that just becomes this mythical, over life-size sort of concept that, yeah, so it's definitely, it's in his face, in his whole body, actually, I think. And then, there came the almost as an afterthought, although it was in the design, that the light coming from behind him. And that came at the very end, with little time kind of left before the absolute deadline for the departure. And with that, I kind of struggled almost until the last day before, he was packed. And there I had no sort of, I couldn't miss. I mean, it couldn't fail. That was just was not enough time to fail. So there was kind of a little bit of a gamble, because it also, how should I put it? I didn't want to, it had to be pretty strong, a strong part of the sculpture, and it could quite well get in the way, or sort of distort, almost affect in a negative way the rest of the sculpture if it really was they just screwed up, simply plain language here. So it was a little bit of a gamble, but somehow yeah, again, I'm trying to come up with good words here for it. It was, it needed to be aggressive in a way, a big part of it, the halo. At the same time, halo, it's such a worn out concept, the most saints shown these days don't have halos, okay? And even the Saint Teresa and the Ecstasy of Saint Teresa by Bernini, which is I love Bernini. She has, she's placed against the window, so the light comes actually from the window, and then these big kind of gold leafed or even golden rays go there, and it works great there. But at the same time, it was for me too flat. I didn't like it as much. Well, they didn't have such good welding equipment then, Bernini didn't. Now I had it, so there was a lot of challenges there, and it had to be, I would say, kind of all out. It couldn't be just a little few rods sticking out, and so it became all of a sudden. I thought I would somehow handle it fine, and I think it fell all in place. It happened. So it's fine. No, okay. I'm happy with it. But at the same time, I wasn't sure of it until the very end. It was just really, and also as I welded, started welding on one side more. I started pulling the cross. Steel is a very, very kind of finicky material. If you just weld too much on one side, it just starts shrinking. And no matter how strong and thick the metal is, it just really warps. So then I went to the other side, started welding, so it started straightening out. But again, it's just it was it was very intense and definitely cost a lot of especially with the deadline, because if I had another month, I could just now I'm gonna sleep on it and go back and change this and that a little bit would be easier. But there I just had maybe 4 days just to do it, and it had to be right. And I think it is actually. No false modesty here. I think it worked out okay, but it was very intense.
Yeah. And very striking, like a great, a kind of very striking resurrection statement. It seems this great burst of light, if you will, a burst of glory, if you
right.
will. Yeah.
In a very sort of in-your-face way, which could very easily look just cheap and cheesy and just complete silly. But I don't think it does. I mean, we got it, I think, right here. But also, of course, there was the glass to come with it, and and I had to sort of, without getting your suspicions that I'm cheating on there, just trying to cut corners and just skip something. I just realized that the glass would just not add anything to it, would make it much more difficult to accomplish what I wanted with the steel, because then I spray occasionally some epoxy resins. There's definitely color there, and of course glass cannot, you cannot spray on glass. So then and then other lighting would be necessary, and I think the way it is, it just was all it needed. The glass would just be just an overkill. So basically, I just. But for a while, I was just kind of holding back and even leaving spaces. Well, maybe I could still fit a piece of glass here. But then I just stepped back, and well, it doesn't need anything really. So I hope I convince you that it's the way it should be. So.